Hello, 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 everyone. My name is Focus. But you can call me Focus. I'm gonna wave my little wasp hands around. Hi. This is a marathon submission video for Shadow's story Any Percent in Sonic the Hedgehog 2006, a lesser-shown category that I think deserves a bit more love, because while it is a credits worth category, much like the other two Any Percents, it isn't as ran because it's a credits warp that happens later in the story. There isn't any reasonable method to do it earlier without spending 26 minutes pause buffering and only on PS3. So that doesn't make for a good marathon run, obviously, but this story does on 360, the method you use on 360. It's just that the other stories are, you know, probably like 10-15 minutes max. So this one, in comparison to the other Any Percents, is a bit longer. But it still shows off a lot of the cooler tricks in Shadow's story, a lot of the unique exploits we do, and also ends with arguably one of the funniest credits warps around, because it involves going into an unused hub world, and doing stuff there to then go into an alternate version of the hub world you're supposed to be in to get the exploit to warp to the credits. So Any Percent is simply beat the story as fast as possible, which is any way of getting the progress bar here from 0% to 100%. The easiest, or at least the quickest way to do that, is to do a credits warp, because watching the credits sets it to 100%. And indeed, Any Percent will end with a credits warp. This is why the other category, the other major category in the individual stories, is no credits warp. We used to be called no mission select glitch, but we found ways of warping to the credits that don't involve mission select glitch, so we had to change the wording around. But yeah, this should be, at the time of recording, this estimate's about 42 minutes, I would say. I do some tricks, as we'll see, that are a little more risky to save time, but they're fun to see, and I always think a marathon is primarily a good showcase of what the run could be at its peak. And so we'll be doing some things that are, you know, difficult, but we have backups, and I think 42 minutes real time should be a very, very reasonable estimate for this, considering my no credits warps around 52 minutes. With that in mind, though, we're just gonna get started here. Timing starts when I hit select here on Shadow's story, and then it ends on when the final arrow disappears in right before the credits play. So with that in mind, we're going to get a countdown going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So yeah, Shadow Story, Sonic 06. I think it's a very underrated category. Has a lot of cool techniques, combat, neat skips, some really cool boss strats as well, as we'll come to see. And I'm glad to be giving, you know, it some love by showcasing it. Shadow does not have a spin dash, unlike Sonic, so his fastest form of movement is to use this pretty long homing attack, and we'll see that throughout the run. Shadow also has many ways of manipulating the momentum of the stage, like certain dash panels and whatnot, which we'll see throughout the run. There's going to be quite a lot of sequence breaking in terms of the automation. But the first major thing we're going to do as Shadow is that his homing attack is quite powerful. If you do pause and A at the same time to do a homing attack on the ground, it will allow you to do that, which is a pause button. If the geometry is good and your angle is correct, you can pretty much clip through anything with that. It has to be thin enough to allow for it to happen, though. It just generates a lot of ground speed for Shadow, and in Sonic 06, so long as the geometry is good and the angle is good, if you have enough speed, you can pretty much clip through anything. Now, continuing onward, we're going to be playing as Rouge. Rouge is very similar to Knuckles' playstyle, except her attack patterns are slightly different. And yeah, like I said, a lot of 06's walls are just suggestions. This is a nice little clip you can do by holding up at the top of a seam and then getting right through it. We'll see it again when we play as Rouge in Flame Core. Now, note that I'm deliberately skipping this checkpoint. We swapped characters, and I've skipped a checkpoint, and I'm about to finish the stage once I destroy all 5 of these searchlights. This will trigger something called Results Breakout. Now, Results Breakout is only possible in a stage where those conditions can be met. And in Shadow White Acropolis, the stage just ends 5 minutes after, or 5 seconds after you destroy the last lighthouse, which is going to be here. I'm now going to go back to here, hit this. The results screen is going to pop up, and now I'm going to hit a text box. So now that I can play on there, and there's a text box there, bam! the text box and the results screen have the same flag for disappearing. It's just that if you set one of them, it'll cause the other to go right away, and that allows us to skip the results screen there, saving a decent chunk of time. It's pretty cool because it's the only stage where we can really do that in Sonic 06 consistently, and that's pretty neat because it's a very cool trick. And in the exact opposite turn of phrase, we now have X-Cerberus, probably the worst boss in 06, or one of the worst. X-Cerberus Shadow is really annoying for a plethora of reasons. The first is that you must ride both rails for you to be able to homing attack the horn. The unfortunate thing is that the collision detection is not the best. Homing attacking at any point may not register as riding the horn somehow, or riding the rails, so that can kind of mess things up as well. But he's been quite nice with his patterns here for me today. You also want to make sure you're not going too steeply against these walls to attack him. Sonic's X-Cerberus is actually a lot easier, because Sonic's X-Cerberus has these statues that count for double damage, where Shadow does not. That being said, we're actually getting a pretty good Cerberus here. Although, yeah, the horns, again, that is RNG. But any time below a minute is fantastic, as far as I'm concerned for Cerberus, so pretty good boss fight there. Now, while we have a little bit of time here, I'll go ahead and explain. You might notice the load screens are a little bit faster than if you've watched a stream of mine or an 06 runners before, and that is because we now allow on 360 the bad avatar exploit to install the game to hard drive, like extract from the CD or the DVD directly onto the hard drive and run from there. If you've played 06 casual, you might know you were able to install the game to hard drive through the Xbox menu. That still plays it through the disk, though, to start, as a copy protection mechanism, and also manages to bottleneck the speed of the load screens a little bit, so they're slower slightly because they still need the DVD to verify some things. Whereas this is downloaded onto HDD and also playing from it, so it has faster load times by about 2 seconds per load, maybe, compared to about over the course of an hour, it's about a minute in time save compared to the standard HDD install on 360. Now, the reason why we are allowing folks to do that is because 06 is now actually timed loadless for its major categories. So these improvements in load times for the load screens don't actually matter in the course of the leaderboards, which is a great benefit. It's amazing that we were able to develop a tool that allows us to streamline the process of removing load times and then timing the run without it, because people were putting their 360s in wrapped in blankets, putting them in freezers, trying to get the fastest load times possible. And that's obviously not healthy for the sake of any video game. But now we're here. I've just bought a few upgrades. One is the air chip, which allows me to do the lightspeed dash, and the other is this, Chaos Boost, which has given me the ability Chaos Snap, or as we lovingly call him, Red Shadow. He's Shadow, and he's red. But yes, we'll see some of the intricacies of Chaos Snap and Chaos Boost as we get along in the game. Particularly in Flame Cores when it starts to become more useful. Here's another vehicle of Shadows, the hovercraft. It is simply you move on a 2D plane as it goes forward, effectively an auto-scroller. Double tap A to boost, and then hold A to keep the momentum going from there, so that's pretty much the strats for any of the hover, or the hang glider sections. Hovercraft is a different thing, my bad. We would normally play as the hovercraft here, but I'm going to go for something called a moon jump. And this is as Rouge, Omega, and Knuckles you can do this. I'm going to ride on the lightspeed dashes up to Rouge. She needs to collect the 3 keys. No, she doesn't. We're going to do something called a moon jump by aligning myself up here and then letting go of A on the last frame before I land. Now, this is a lot harder because there are no shadows in this section of the map, so I have to time it right, but there we go, second try, pretty good. We're just still going to save time over playing through the stage by clipping through the door as Shadow, so that's nice. And then, yeah, so the moon jump works because as the gliding function is pretty much just applying a downward pull on the character and an upward pull, and the downward, the gravity gets stronger and stronger. If you let go of A, the frame before you touch the ground, the downward momentum is completely removed, but the upward one is not cancelled, and so you launch into the sky with that. Pretty cool. It is really tense and hard to do without pausing, or pause buffering, so I'm happy I got that. And now we're on to Section 3. You may have seen me restart at the beginning. This is deliberate, because I'm particularly avoiding an S rank. And why would I want to avoid an S rank? Everyone loves, you know, the best ranks in Sonic's games. Well, that's because they add an additional gold medal animation to the final, Okay, that scared me. They add an additional gold medal animation to the end of the stage. Think of the emblems in the Sonic Adventure titles. And that adds 5.5 unskippable seconds, which obviously you don't want to do. You see me do this a few times now. If you hold the control stick at a certain angle at your base walking speed, and then are able to go from there to move around and preserve things, it works like M-Speed does in Sonic Unleashed. We call it M-Speed the same way. It's only doable on the ground, unlike Unleashed, where M-Speed is also preserved in jumps. It only works on the ground in 06. And because of that, it can be rather tight and finicky. It's useful in straightaways where you just have to hold up. If any of you played the Zelda 64 titles, think about it like ESS speed in those games, where, you know, that angle can be really annoying at times. So, yeah, it's precise. It is sort of an advanced sort of optimization. Not always worth going for if you're just learning the run, or in fact you're trying to be marathon safe. But if it works out well, it's really cool and you go really fast. And that's exactly what you want in a Sonic game. We're going to jump over here and hit this panel, and then jump over here. It's quicker than jumping off normally. I don't think I have to take damage here because I only have one ring, and I spent a decent amount of time. We're going to pause clip through here to avoid having to do any combat, and there you go. That's the end of Kingdom Valley. And we avoided the S rank, although most of that was frankly due to the time I lost. The time bonus is one of the bigger elements on whether or not you're going to get a certain type of rank in 06, and clearly we spent a little bit more time stuck on a few things here, but yeah, Kingdom Valley, really cool stage. Now we're on to Crisis City, and those of you who might remember me from my run at Fastest Furs at FWA 2025, this is a pretty long stretch of load screen. If I were in person, I would take my phone out and take a photo with everyone in the crowd, and then try to upload it to social media, because that's fun and funny. So, just imagine me taking a photo right now. Clink. And then imagine, I don't know, your favorite social media platform. I'll go with Blue Sky, because it's the only one I use. And yeah, now we get to Crisis City. We got the buggy again, and it is indeed indicative of its name. It is quite buggy, especially in this section. There's a lot of curves that it can get stuck on and then bounce off weirdly, but we did it pretty well here. We want to preserve the health of the buggy as much as possible. I'm going to hold back so that I can then land on it like this. Driving over that patch of land for some reason causes damage, and I do not know why, but it is pretty consistent. Yeah, so we can double tap A to boost as well, much like we could with the hang glider, but you need to be careful. And now we're just going to build up a bunch of speed by mashing it. And then we're going to launch ourselves off like this, towards this rail here. And then we're going to finish the stage if it stops being, you know, slow-mo laggy for the cool effect. We're going to finish the stage by using the rails here, and then ending up here. We'll talk a little bit more about rails in the next section, but there's actually a really interesting rhythm to them that you may not see visibly. Rails in 06, the trick you do is actually based on the amount of X presses, not the animation itself. So while you might be seeing Shadow only spin once, I'm actually pressing it rhythmically in a certain manner to get the maximum possible speed boost without locking myself out. So, like, I need to press X in a rhythm like, if I land on this rail, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Any faster, if I just start mashing, I'll actually be unable, it'll lock me out. So they did have a way of getting around that idea, but they didn't fully execute on it. So we have this really weird sort of in-between. But it is pretty crucial for rail management in all of 06, specifically as Sonic Blaze and Shadow. They all have that rhythm. Other characters have different rhythms, and in fact, majority of them, it's actually not any faster to hit the trick than it is to not do any tricks. Like Omega doesn't add anything. I'm going to set up here for something called the Lamb Sauce. I'm going to try to position myself here and break out of bounds on this automation. And then I'm going to kick a rock, this one, to get over to this section. Perfect. That is a rock launch. Shadow uses rock launches pretty often in the optimal strats of stages. And that is one of the safer rocks when it comes to consistency. It was found by Gordon Ramsay, Gordin Ramsay. He is the Shadow Story pariah, if you will. He is the guy who found a lot of the cool stuff back in like 2020, AGDQ 2021 runner for the category. He's awesome. He's found a lot of stuff, and he's a good friend. Great friend. Awesome person. He did call himself Gordon Ramsay for the brownie points of, oh, I think I see Gordon Ramsay running a speedrun. That's funny. I want to watch. Hang glider section. This would be perfect section for, you know, donations or announcements. I know I haven't had many sections for that as of yet, but there will be more as we get into the run. Although we are about 1/3 of the way through. Now we're going to try something called Section 4 Rock. So the consistency of Lamb Sauce is that the rock is already shattered in that way and consistently every time, so you can set up the rock launch consistently. Here we're going to hope that the Havoc physics engine gives us good luck. I'm going to homing attack this and see what pieces I get. I don't know. That's a weird piece, but we're going to try. Please. Yes! Let's go! That is not easy to do. The Havoc physics engine blessed us, and we did well, folks. Let's go! I'm trying my best not to shout and holler at the top of my lungs for getting that first try in an actual run. That's awesome. That's Section 4 Rock. That skips like 20-30 seconds of gameplay, and now we're over here. I'm going to homing attack onto this part, and then I'm going to use M speed to try to preserve my homing attack speed. Man, that's really good. Going to homing attack. Up, up. There we go. And that is Crisis City. And that is a new ILPB for your boy Focus Sight. I don't have to trim the earlier one. Let's go! That's a really good Crisis City time. I don't think it's Gold Split or Community Gold, which is what we say for best IL time done in a run, but that's gotta be close. It's gotta be close to that. That was pretty solid overall. That is an excellent Crisis City, a stage that normally does not bode well for me, done in pretty good time, so let's go. In a submission video as well, even. We love to show ourselves off the best when we're trying to get into marathon events, and that's just incredible. Flame Core is now where we first really get the sense of what Chaos Snap can do, which is to say it can break a lot of things. So, I'm going to skip this loop over here by just jumping to the right. They never put an invisible wall or anything. Then I'm going to get through here, going to use some more M speed off of these light dashes to get to here, although I'm a little slow. Hopefully I should be fine. Barely. Gonna jump over here, and then I need to activate these enemies, otherwise I can't actually get through to the spring here. Oh, I stunned him. Huh. I don't normally get that. Now we're gonna get this item capsule over here. It'll fill our action gauge. And then if we press RT, we get Red Shadow. So Chaos Snap is weird. It will homing attack. It will snap to anything you can normally homing attack after you hold A and charge one. Or if you hold A and charge towards it. It'll literally just snap you towards it, like teleport. It won't do anything untoward or otherwise. But it will, you know, go through and allow you to skip through, say, this section, because we teleport into this other one. And so we skip an entire normally required combat section. I'm playing it safe here. I'm going around and getting the checkpoint because these meteors, affectionately known as Cocoa Puffs in the Sonic 06 community, they can hit you here. when you cannot recover or do anything. They didn't for me, but I wanted to be safe because it's a marathon submission video, and I'd rather take the death and warp back to that checkpoint rather than restart the entire stage. So yeah, Chaos Snap, you hold A, and then your next homing attack within a few seconds will warp to a section. So now what happens if you, say, try to warp to a rail? A rail has infinitely many points that you could warp towards. So what happens if you try to hit a snap on a rail? Well, you warp to the origin of the stage, and in this case, the origin of the stage is further into Flame Core than we otherwise would be. And then we fling our corpse onto a checkpoint. Our corpse still registers as shadow, so the corpse still hits the checkpoint. And from all there, we basically death warp our way into the stage, saving 15 seconds. We call this trick Chaos Control. And it is a trick that was theorized for over 10 years in Sonic 06 before the once again wonderful, wonderful Gordon Ramsay managed to find a way to make it a reality. And that, my friends, is Flame Core. An incredible 219. Very solid overall. And getting first try Chaos Control is, again, something I'm very proud of. That it was a really, really strong Flame Core section, too. Gonna save. And now we're on to Iblis Phase 2, so we mentioned Gordon a few times already. Gordon managed to find this trick mere days before his HDQ run. And it was at like 3 a.m. he discovered this. I'm gonna just wait and show you what it does before I explain it. But we're gonna go over here. We're gonna damage boost on the lava to get to this light early at about 6 seconds. We're gonna just get over there, hit the thing, get a ring, get up here. So now I'm just going to position myself with Chaos Spear. This is an attack that allows you to hover in the air, but it also, the projectile stuns enemies, for instance. He's now going to target me here. I'm going to land and damage boost on the lava again, but also have a ring so that I can damage boost twice. 1, 2, 3. We're going to clip out of bounds here. Jump in the air, and at 40.5 seconds, I'm going to homing attack off here. 1, 2, 3, 4, we'll jump. Okay. Now at 109.2, I want to hold Chaos Spear again. You can see we're going to the there's no death plane down here until you hit the out-of-bounds bounding box, which is where we're trying to head towards. So at 109.2, I want to hold this. That should be good enough, I hope. We are now right above the bounding box, and Iblis's attack pattern puts him 20,000 units below Shadow. If I've done this right, and I may have been a bit early, but let's see. If we've done this right, he should despawn now. And he did. So the game tries to finish this attack pattern by putting him back in the regular arena, but he's in the out-of-bounds bounding box where anything in there is meant to despawn. So once the game tries to finish the logic, it goes, oh, the boss is no longer there, and then, because the boss isn't in the arena, it says, oh, you must have defeated it. Yes, a real human being found this at 3 a.m. in the morning, and it's absolutely incredible what someone with the ingenuity of someone like Gordon Ramsay can do when you allow him to go to his own devices. That is an incredible, incredible strat. And it's very, very cool to show off. That is the Iblis 2 despawn, everybody. And Gordon Ramsay is a real one for finding that, because that boss used to be about a minute slower without that. So now we have a bit of an intermission here in Tropical Jungle Rouge. This is another great point for donations, because we're just going to do a moon jump, and if we fail the moon jump, we'll do a separate backup. We're going to try for a moon jump if I do it right here. Also, yeah, flashing lights warning because of the glitchy climb up. I'm going to try for a moon jump here, but again, this would probably be a perfect point for donations. Yeah, especially if I fail it. You got about 30 seconds for donations here, because it's a simple stage otherwise. Another flashing lights warning. We're going to go up here, hover off, get a ring. We're then going to damage boost. We could get a pity moon jump here. We did not. We call it a pity moon jump because it's a moon jump you get after failing the genuine moon jump. But now I'm going to climb up here. One more glitch climb, and then that's the stage. Obviously would have been better to get Moon Jump, but you don't really mind because it only saves like 10 seconds, somewhere between there.
What did you think of my beautiful
And that is Tropical Jungle Rouge. Again, perfect time for donations or announcements in an actual marathon, in my opinion. And now we have Tropical Jungle... we have Mephiles Phase 1, who I pronounced as a kid Me-Files. I was insistent it was Me-Files. Me-Files! I don't know. You know, kids do funny stuff. And then we have the first phase of Mephiles. We're not going to see a second phase in this category, because that is Phase 2, which is the final boss of the story normally, but we're skipping it. So, Mephiles Phase 1 involves you getting his... We call them goons? I think they're called mini-shades? We're going to fall into the lava here so that they then target the ground and die on their own while I get more action gauge from elsewhere. This is a not fast one because the text box didn't appear, and you can see there's about as many mini-shades as there were last time. The text box is an indication that you've gotten the speed right, like that text box, so we're going to be a little bit slow here, but yeah, the whole point is to gain action gauge to transform into Chaos boost, and from there then targeting Mephiles, who is Shadow's Shadow. I'm one mini-shade short. And then going to target him with Chaos Snap. Again, Chaos Snap is weird that it maintains the target sometimes. And then I don't need to press A for all the attacks he does here. Not a great Mephiles Phase 1, but there you go. End of that. It's not the end of the boss, I should say. There's Omega comes in, who we've rescued from Tropical Jungle, and now it's just luck. This part is simply luck. So this phase is another great point for donations or announcements. We're going to run to the back here so the mini-shades go around the wrong point, and now we play a lottery. We're going to shoot with our regular cannon here because it's faster and also deals damage extra if he stays in the same space. If he stays in the same space, it does extra damage because the leftover hitbox is still there. And there's a 1 in 7 chance of that happening because there are 7 spots. Right now, he's being typical Mephiles Phase 1 and not giving me much good luck at all. He's not taking too long to move from space to space, though, but he's not staying at all in one place, so pretty unfortunate that the one thing we get, the one bad part of this run, I suppose, is the RNG boss, but, like, I'll take that over not getting the other stuff I got first try. It's an okay boss. There's not really much to say about it, though, once you get into it, once we explain the basic premise of it. It's pretty simple, and that makes for a decent point for donations or announcements, particularly the Omega section. So up next here, we have... Normally you're supposed to speak to Rouge, and in previous, when we used to do RTA as the main timing system, we would skip talking to Rouge to save time, and then just clip directly into the place where the Radical Train mirror is, because, like a lot of stuff in Silver and Shadow's stories, they did not put in, like, a conditional statement saying you must do this before this is activated. In Sonic's story they did. A lot of sequence breaking is simply impossible in that story, just because they kind of locked it down a little more tight. But Silver and Shadow don't necessarily have that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go around. I would normally have gotten Phase 2 or Chaos Boost Part 2, which improves my Chaos Spear, the the thing I hovered with. But I don't need it for this part of the run. You could use it in Aquatic Base, which is the last stage in this run. But there's a method that doesn't need it at all, and so just to save time not having to go to the shop menu, we're going to skip it. Omega was pretty nice. Sometimes his NPC model is just so large that it will, stay in, it'll block you, you'll catch him with the tip of your homing attack, and that causes slowdown. But here we go, onto Radical Train. Radical Train is quite a fun... I would say the first section of Radical Train is one of the more fun sections of any stage in 06 for speedrunning, because it involves completing the stage before a certain time limit. And you're normally supposed to take turns destroying this train from Dr. Eggman, but instead of doing that, I'm just gonna bolt through the stage and complete it before even the first cycle is supposed to be over. So we're going to pause clip to the right door here. get this checkpoint just in case. We're gonna then... so dash panels, if I haven't mentioned earlier, they take input speed and give you output speed by a multiplier. Sometimes the output speed is faster than the normal speed cap when holding forward, which is what M speed is useful for and all that. But I'm just gonna go through here, copy or clip through here, copy paste through here. That would be funny. I'm gonna then charge up a snap and then hit this. Just in time before the normal thing would have deleted. Before the train would have forced a death. So, pretty good. It's a fun stage, involves all the tricks we've seen before and then some. And now we get onto the motorcycle. The motorcycle is perhaps the most jank of all the vehicles because it is so small that the physics engine doesn't like you going fast with it sometimes. I'm gonna align myself through here, and then I'm gonna try to brake. Okay, I have to swap vehicles, that's never good. I'm gonna try to aim for the front train, but I'm gonna have to go deeper into the stage, unfortunately. The unexpected backflip of the vehicle caused that, so... There you go. Not the best radical train, but not bad. I mean, we did kind of get funny bike moment, which can happen sometimes in 06. But there you go, 124, solid. And we get on to probably the simplest of all the stages, or bosses, in 06, and that is Shadow versus Silver. Now, obviously, there's a cutscene I'm going to play at the end here, because the funny part is that on our loadless methodology, cutscenes don't count towards your real time or your loadless time because they're considered cutscene or like load screens. So I'm able to show this cutscene here after we defeat this without losing any time in the leaderboards. So we're gonna hit him here, and then we're gonna go through and do the extra kicks thing that I mentioned earlier. Through the train. So that he cannot hurt us, but we can hurt him. Break these, and you're going to see on the right of your screen, folks. Hey, there's Silver's corpse. Thank you, Silver. And that is the end of Silver, the Shadow versus Silver fight. Pretty simple. Pretty simple. We only got one more major stage left before we do the credits warp, so... Getting towards the end of the run already, and I would say overall it's been an incredibly good run. The hardest parts of the run were done really well, and I'm really happy. In fact, this could PB. I don't want to jinx it, but this could PB. So, I'm gonna let Cinema play for just a few seconds.
Chaos control!
There you go. Cinema. Yeah. That's the only any percent where you still see that cutscene. It's really fun. And of course I'll show it during a marathon. Of course I will. You can't not. And it doesn't count towards my load this time, so this could still PB. We're gonna do Aquatic Base now, and much like its counterpart in Silver's story, the first section is really quick. We're gonna pause clip through here. If I align myself properly, this clip can be quite annoying at times. There we go, jump over here. Around to here. This is the final door in the stage. Up through it. Homing attack onto... Not that orb, but I'll take it. There you go. That's section 1 done. I'm not going to try to avoid the S rank much like I did in Kingdom Valley. Again, adding... If you could save time by getting an A rank or lower beneath in less than 5.5 seconds worth of routing, it's faster. I'm going to need to make sure I... lose some rings, though. There you go, that combat was done. It was not the smoothest, but we'll go. I'm gonna make sure I get hit. Although my lower time should make this an easier S rank to avoid. Clip through here, easier than the first one. And then I'm pausing through here. You also see that the ELT, or estimated loadless timer, does stop during the pauses of like the pause menu. The pause menu does count towards your loadless time, so you can't just pause buffer everything. We don't use the loadless timer. Exactly. We use some software to. We use some software to cut out the load screens. But now we have a big combat section. You can see Chaos Snap is making this a little bit faster and simpler than it otherwise would be. Because of the weird mechanics of Chaos Snap. If you want to learn about the inner mechanics, there's quite literally a 17-page document by Gordon Ramsay explaining everything that you see here. And there you go. I don't know if that'll avoid the S rank. Please, for me, please, please. Yeah. Pretty solid. The first section wasn't great, but the second section was really good, especially the combat. And that's the final stage of this story, but we're not done yet. We obviously have to still do the credits warp, which is what's going to come up now, if I finish this. So we're now in the credits warp section. Now, there was a previous method done by Darkspine Sonic, the founder, or the person who found Mission Select Glitch. When I was like 12 or 13, I thought that method was too hard, so I came up with a weird version that uses the unused hub world present in this stage. And now, with Loath's timing being the standard, this method's actually faster than that one, so it's exactly what we're gonna do. A Cracked article showcased that video like 10 years later, and I was like, why is Cracked showing the wrong version? But it was actually able to get us to this method. So this method of Mission Select Glitch involves something called copycats. We're now loading into an unused version of New City. It's not the one that contains the unused mission, but it does contain a bunch of cars. So, you know, cars. We're gonna clip through here. We're gonna talk to Mission 8 guy. I think it's Mission 8. Now that text is stored is the last thing that we've talked to someone about. There are also NPCs who don't have any text. They've not been initialized, and they are what we call copycats. These copycats will just repeat the last piece of dialogue said, which in this case is the dialogue to start Mission 8. We're now in an unused version of Castletown that is almost the same as the one we came from, but you'll notice there's no Rouge, and there's some other stuff. There's this Mission 14 up here, which is what we would skip normally in No Credits Warp. A normally required mission that you can skip, but we're gonna go around the city, do some M-speed here, to get to this NPC who is a copycat. I'm gonna then pause buffer a homing attack to scare him. I'm then gonna do that one more time once he sits back down. And I'm going to talk to him while I'm over the water.
No!
And now you'll notice the yes-no text box is here. This is Mission Select Glitch. Obviously, the Mission Select shouldn't be on while you're able to move around and do stuff. So what we're now doing is we're going to enter Mission 14. I'm holding the A button here to hit yes, first frame. We're then going to go into Mission 8, Protect the Professor, or Save the Professor, or I think it's Protect the Professor's car? Yeah, I know too much about this game that I get excited over that. Protect the Professor's car. We're going to immediately hold pause and frame buffer a pause, hit quit mission, and then we're now back in Mission 14. But the previous thing we were in was Mission 8. So when we either fail or complete this mission, the game is going to try to return us to Mission 8, which is not a hub world. The game expects a hub world. It is the inside of a mission we get instead. And because of that, if I go ahead and die, time is coming up once in like really quickly. Time is now. That, my friends, is Shadow Any%, and I'm pretty sure that's a PB. I don't know for sure, but I have a good feeling it's a PB, which is amazing for a what was ostensibly a marathon submission video. Might now also be my PB, so there you go. Done in roughly 24 minutes loadless. This is an underestimate typically, so it's probably closer to around 25, maybe high 24, and done in 35 minutes 39 seconds real time, which is definitely faster than my previous run, but also slightly faster loads, so yeah, that is Shadow Any%. So if you're wondering why we're at the credits, the game does not expect you to go from a mission into another mission. It never does that, ever. Nor does it expect you to return to an act trial stage if you are in a mission. There are safeguards against this in a lot of places. So for instance, if you die in Shadow Mission 15, which is a stage later after where we were, it just restarts the mission immediately for you. However, if you let one of the NPCs die, they did not properly check the fail condition there. And so it tries to send you back to Wave Ocean at that point. But the game does not recognize returning from mission into a trial or an act trial as a valid thing. And much the same way here, what we did is we went into mission 8, then went back to mission 14. We then failed mission 14 by dying during one of the dialogue scenes. The issue with that is the game tries to put you back into mission 8, but it recognizes it as an invalid setting to be put back into. So the game, as a failsafe, warps you to the credits. And that is how Shadow Any% works. I think that's a wrap, folks, because that is probably a PP and a very good run where I got pretty much everything first try. So I have no real complaints other than, you know, some stages could have gone better, but I mean, it's still really good. Those were very solid stages overall, and I cannot complain, and I hope you, the person reviewing this for whatever marathon I may have submitted this to, can consider showing off Shadow Any%, because it is a fun sort of best of, if you will. We did miss Dusty Desert, which is a fun stage in Shadow, but it is it's a shorter than average run for the typical 06 stuff, without being so short that it becomes difficult to schedule. For instance, the Sonic Any% or Silver Any%. And it shows you a lot of what the game can do in terms of its brokenness. And that's lovely, isn't it? So thanks for having me. Please consider this submission video for your respective marathon. I hope I can be a part of it. And yeah, congrats on what seems to be a PB for me. I'm happy with that.